They were supposed to be extinct, annihilated, burned from the annals of history, like a plague on parchment. In 1312, the Knights Templar were shattered by papal decree, their leaders tortured, their riches seized, their legacy buried beneath a tide of royal betrayal and whispered heresy. But something doesn't add up. Instead of fading, their symbols reappeared in the most unlikely of places. Royal crests, Masonic rites, military medals, even banking empires. They died in fire, and yet their shadow kept growing. How does an order meant for extinction become invisible instead? Of course, history doesn't always close its doors. Sometimes it leaves them ajar just wide enough for a secret to slip through. So breathe easy. Settle in. The noise of the modern world is far behind you now. We're headed somewhere quieter and much older. The last embers of the Templar bonfires still smolder in our imagination. Cloaked knights in crimson crosses, secret rituals beneath moonlit chapels, lost relics hidden beneath ancient stone. But the truth, the one wrapped in dust denial and decades of strategic silence, is far more disturbing than the legend. Because this isn't a story about an order that vanished. It's a story about one that learned how to hide. As castles fell and kings changed thrones, a thread remained unbroken, unseen, but never truly severed. It threaded its way through Scottish battlefields, Portuguese docks, Florentine banks, and quiet cathedrals, where no one dared speak of what was written in the margins. This is the story of a hidden order, one that may have never stopped pulling the levers of power. Not in the open, but in the hush behind royal curtains, in the margins of treaties, and in the coded gestures passed between elite circles. They weren't just knights. They were networkers, strategists, financiers. And if the signs are correct, they're still here. Before we venture further into the shadows, take a moment to subscribe so you never miss a secret that history has tried to forget. The smoke from the pyres still hung in the Parisian air when the rumors began. They spread not from noble lips, but from sailors in low taverns, from merchants along the Atlantic ports, from trembling priests who had seen too much and said too little. It was whispered that as Jacques de Molay was marched to the stake, a fleet of Templar ships quietly vanished from the harbor at La Rochelle, gone without a trace, without a flag, without a destination. Not sunk, not captured, gone. That was the word that echoed through the frightened streets, vanished. For an order supposedly dismantled and destroyed, their fleet's disappearance suggested preparation, coordination, and survival. The harbor at La Rochelle was no ordinary outpost. It was one of the most strategically placed naval stations in medieval Europe. The Templars had built it not just for trade or travel, but for exactly what the Church had feared most: autonomy. Their own ships, their own routes, their own ports, often outside the grasp of both king and pope. It had been their quiet strength for years, overlooked, while the kings focused on their treasure and the papacy obsessed over heresy trials. And now, with one swift tide, it became their salvation. Modern historians still debate the size of the fleeing fleet. Some claim there were only a handful of ships carrying a few desperate brothers, and perhaps a chest or two of gold. Others insist the number was closer to 18, fully stocked, with men documents and artifacts of significant importance. A few fringe accounts, mostly dismissed, speak of scrolls sealed in wax bearing the sigils of both Solomon and a serpent. What's agreed upon, though, is this: the fleet left, and it left fast. The timing was too precise to be anything but planned. Someone had warned them, someone with access to inner circles. Here's the odd thing: no records exist of royal ships sent in pursuit. Philip the Forker, a man who micromanaged vengeance with surgical precision, never lifted a finger to chase them. It's as if he wanted the survivors gone or feared what might happen if they were caught. After all, when you torch a heretic, you win. But when you capture an organized escape, you might reveal an intelligence network still functioning beneath the ash. Some say the ships headed west toward Scotland, a land then excommunicated and already sympathetic to Templar exiles. Others whisper they sailed to Portugal, where a young King Dennis had always been lukewarm about their prosecution. There's even a few bold tales of the fleet disappearing beyond the Pillars of Hercules, toward islands unnamed and maps unmarked. These legends, though colorful, usually come with a generous helping of sea monsters and buried crosses. Entertaining, but not useful. Still, they show how deep the mythos runs. What cannot be ignored is the silence of the Church. While papal bulls condemned and disbanded the Templars across Europe, no official statement was ever issued regarding the missing ships. That's not normal. Rome loved closure. Heresy needed to be sealed with a stamp. Yet here there's only absence, a blank spot in the archives, as unsettling as a scream cut short. Even in recent decades, fragments have emerged. A lead-encased logbook found in an abandoned Portuguese chapel listed dates and nautical symbols unknown to the region. A fragment of a sail bearing the Red Cross was pulled from beneath a dock in Aberdeen, though carbon dating remains inconclusive. And then there's the letter unsigned, untranslated for decades, tucked into the archives of the Vatican's Secretum. It mentions the 12 hands that guided the fleet beneath the moon of betrayal. 12 hands? 6 pairs. 6 captains or 6 factions, no one agrees. But the phrasing suggests hierarchy, coordination, and a surviving structure. And then, there's the most persistent rumor of all, the one dismissed by scholars, but privately passed among archivists like contraband, that the fleet did not flee. It split. That it was not an exodus, but a dispersion. Some vessels went north, others south, and a few simply remained at sea. Circling, waiting. Becoming mobile command centers for a network that no longer needed castles or temples, only currents. This theory, while speculative, offers a chilling possibility. If true, then the fleet wasn't a relic of the past. It was the first evolution of a new order. One not bound by stone walls or rigid hierarchy.